Christi here with Little Salty Homesteader. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, it is a beautiful day outside, finally, for the first time in like a month or something. So I am actually going to be seed starting my tomatoes. I'm doing it outside since it's beautiful. The rest of my seeds have been started indoors, so it's nice to have a change of scenery. I have a lot of different tomatoes that I'm going to be starting today, but I did kind of want to give you guys an in-depth seed starting guide for tomatoes in case this is your first time giving that a go for your garden this year. So obviously tomatoes are going to be a warm season annual that grow best in late spring, early summer, or if you're somewhere like Texas where it's pretty hot during the fall as well, you can also grow tomatoes in the fall. They are going to be planted outdoors after the threat of frost has passed. Here in my area, we can plant them as early as late March into the middle of April or so. A lot of the veteran gardeners around here will wait until after Easter because they say after Easter there's not going to be any more freezing temperatures. Kind of one of those like old wives' tales for gardening. You can certainly direct sow tomato seeds directly into your garden outdoors, but you can get a jump start on your season by starting them indoors. Now, as far as like flowering and fruiting and developing the eventual harvest, tomatoes are going to produce the best in temperatures from 50 degrees to 90 degrees. After 90, that production is really going to fizzle out, and before 50, you're not really going to get any sort of production at all. So that's why a lot of gardeners will start their tomatoes indoors. That way they can get them established before it gets too hot, but after, you know, it has warmed up enough. So seeds are typically started 6 to 8 weeks before that estimated last frost date. If you don't know when your last frost date is, just Google your zip code last frost date and it's gonna give you an estimate. My exact estimate for here is April the 15th, I believe. However, the last few years, we haven't had any frosts after about the early to mid-March. So I just like to keep an eye on the weather app for about 10 days. Whenever I feel like I'm ready to plant them out, and just make sure that the temperatures are going to be amenable to that. You can also utilize tools like the Farmer's Almanac website, the Clyde's Garden Planner, which has kind of like a sliding calendar mechanism on it that will allow you to select your, or kind of slide to your frost date, and then it will tell you whenever you need to start the seeds and then transplant out. Or you can use a website like seedtime.us, which is a free garden planning tool that takes away all the math for you. So you just enter in the variety that you want to grow and it's going to schedule it for you without you having to sit there and go, okay, March 15th, January 31st, whatever, trying to figure out every different variety. Once you have your seed starting dates for those tomatoes, you're going to gather your supplies. I typically use seed starting trays for my tomato seeds, but you can use soil blockers, lettuce clamshells, old yogurt containers, pretty much anything that you can add a drainage hole to can be used for seed starting. Just make sure that you have some sort of water reservoir so that as the soil drains, it has somewhere for the water to go. You'll also need soil. You can use a variety of materials, including specialized seed starting mix, coconut coir, homemade potting soil, and bagged potting soil. Seed starting mix and coconut coir will require a seedling transplant before other soil mixes, so weigh the pros and cons of each thing before you decide. I like to use Fox Farm Ocean Forest soil, but it can be expensive compared to other brands. Potting soil, like the plants you decide to grow, obviously is going to be a personal preference. When starting your seeds, ensure your soil is moist enough to hold shape when squeezed, but not dripping water. The best comparison would be a sponge that has had the water squeezed out. I like to fill my water reservoir about half full with water and then put my seed starting tray into that reservoir. The soil will then soak up the water from within the reservoir, and then I am left with nice moist soil to work with. Now you can adjust and add more water as you need, or pour off excess water if you have added too much. It makes it pretty easy to get that proper moisture that you need there. If you're planting more than one variety of seeds, it is a good idea to label your trays. you think you're gonna remember, but you won't. I alternate between blue painter's tape and plant markers depending on how many varieties I'm starting. For example, if I'm starting an entire 8-cell container with Midnight Snack cherry tomatoes, I'll just label the tray itself, like this one right here. I'll just label this tray with a little piece of painter's tape identifying what variety, and then call that good. Because I'm going to be planting so many different varieties today, I have these individual plant markers. Tomato seeds are typically planted 1/4 of an inch deep. Usually this information is written on the seed packet. Like on this one, it's going to be written on the side here in one of these boxes. But a good rule of thumb for starting most seeds is to make your planting hole twice as deep as the width of the seed. These are micro tomatoes, so this has 1/8 of an inch deep, so we're just barely going to make a little divot there. But for other regular sized tomatoes, 1/4 of an inch will suffice perfectly fine. Once you have created your planting hole, deposit your seeds and cover with soil. Most of my seeds are from previous seasons, so I plant 2 seeds per hole in order to ensure that I get good germination across my entire planting tray. If both seeds germinate, I will prune one that looks a little less healthy than the other, or I will grow it out and then just give it to family or friends. This year, I will be donating it to Logan's Scout Troop for a seedling sale as a fundraiser for them. All right, once your tray is fully planted out, you're gonna cover it with a humidity dome. It looks like this one, but hopefully in a little bit better shape. And place that on a heat mat and wait. Tomatoes will typically germinate within 7 to 14 days. Once 75 to 80% of your tray has germinated, go ahead and remove that dome and place it underneath the grow light. Now, tomatoes germinate best in soil temps of 60 to 80 degrees. If you don't have a heat mat, I have seen people place their entire trays up on top of their refrigerator, on their dryer, in a south-facing windowsill. I have seen people place smaller trays like this inside of a crock pot. I guess they have one that's devoted purely to seed starting. I don't know, but I have not tried any of those methods. I can only speak on the success of using a heat mat and grow light combination. So once your trays are underneath the grow lights, they're going to require 12 to 14 hours a day of that grow light, or if you're in a south-facing window, hopefully you get 12 to 14 hours of sunlight onto those young seedlings. After a few weeks, you may consider adding heavily diluted liquid fertilizer to your water to sort of give just a little bit of a nutrient boost to your tomato seedlings. Eventually, especially if you're using small seed starting cells like this, you may need to up pot into a larger vessel, but that is a little bit down the road, probably 3 to 4 weeks after they have germinated. I know this was a ton of information to absorb, but starting your seeds for your garden isn't that difficult of a process once you kind of start it and understand all of the little mechanisms that go into successfully starting your seeds. It's pretty rewarding and not very difficult at all. But for the seed starting for the tomatoes, I'm planting out 144 cells of tomatoes. Now some of you might be wondering, where in the heck am I going to put 144 cells of tomatoes? I'm not. I have home in my garden for 22 full-size tomato plants in my raised beds, and then in my green stalk over here that's not in frame, some dwarf tomatoes are going to go there. I'm also growing out 10 microtom tomato plants for Lily's Girl Scout Troop for a gardening badge that they're working on, and I'm growing out the rest, that whatever the math adds up for that, for Logan Scout Troop seedling sale. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm also planting out 8 cells of tomatillos. I'm probably going to grow 4 myself, and then I will donate the rest to Logan's cause here to raise some money for summer camp, huh? Okay. He's like, whatever, Mom. All right, muddy feet dog over there. All right, so I'm going to plant these out first because the labels are already in them. So, here we go. The wind kind of blew my packets around. So the tomatillos are gonna be Grande Rio Verde and tomatillo verde. Now, I did start some last year, but I started them too late, and then the roly-polies ate the seedlings, so I ended up with 0 tomatillos. So we're gonna give it another go this year. Logan, can you go get me some water? Not for drinking. I need to put some water in these trays. All right, before we start, I'm actually gonna add some water to these trays. This is rainwater. We got several inches of rain this week, so the dog thinks he's gonna drink my water. So I'm filling this about half full, and these will absorb, the soil in these little containers will absorb all the water. And then, can you go put some more water in here? All right, so right now I'm just getting the labels put into the seed cells so that we know where we're planting what. I'm going to be planting out Logan's Scout seeds last because some of these packets don't have enough to fill the 2 6 cells that I'm assigning to them, so I have some extra varieties that I'm gonna fill in with. So I'm going to take care of Lily's troop and my personal garden first. All right, so we'll plant these out first. And these seeds are pretty small, so I'm just barely making divots into here. So Lily, Logan, and I got all 144 tomato cells planted up and 8 tomatillo cells planted up. So thank you guys for your help. That's all I have for you today. If you liked today's seed starting content and you want to see more, please like, subscribe, comment, do all those different YouTube-y things. But until next time, go find a way to get those garden manicures. Bye!